Hey all, so this is a demo slash AMA of Agent Workspace, which is Zendesk's new UI for agents, specifically on the ticket page, because honestly, it really doesn't change anything anywhere else. This is something Zendesk is very invested in, to the point of they're going to force everyone to go to this. We have gotten delays and delays and delays and delays as much as we could, but we kind of got this is probably your last delay we can afford you. So it's time to start getting us all prepared for it. Um, this is the second recording we've done. The first one we kind of just did a blind demo, showed everybody thing, and took any questions we got and tried to collate that into our document that I've got there. The idea here is to kind of do the same thing of, okay, we're a little better informed. Let's see what happens when we go even further with this. Let's see if there's any other questions, because the plan is by end of quarter, we will be switched to this. So with that in mind, let me do a quick screen share demo of this. If I can figure out which one's the right one. Yeah, that should be the right one. All right, cool. So Agent Workspace, it looks similar, but doesn't. The first thing you will notice when you go to work a ticket is your most recent reply is not at the top. They have reversed that order completely. When you first load in a ticket, you'll load into the top of it like this. You'll have this little nice box here. It says jump to latest message, and that'll let you jump all the way down to the bottom. The next thing you'll likely notice is your reply box is now at the bottom of the ticket. If you've ever seen the customer side of Zendesk, it looks a lot like this. The customer response is at the bottom. Things are loaded from oldest first to the newest. So that's some things you're going to instantly notice the first time you go over to this. For those who like that preview button in your response as you're typing it, you'll also notice it's gone. It does not exist anymore. What it does now is just formats your stuff as you type. So, header 3 helps if I get off the line that I've turned into a header, but you'll notice that just, it formats it as you type. So that's one thing you're going to have to get used to. The other is the difference between a public and internal reply. So type my public reply previously, if you switched over internal, it would copy your message. You'll notice it no longer does that. So, I have, this is an internal reply. If I go back to public reply, it's still got my old message. If I go back to internal reply, it's got that message. So there's a complete degree of separation between the two. They will not copy one to the other, but this also does mean that you have the ability to submit an internal note, come over to your public note, and immediately submit that. That's, depending how you look at it, convenient or troublesome. I kind of look at it as convenient. It lets me type up my reply, switch over to internal, add some notes, and keep switching between the two without having to worry about having a notepad open. So that's really convenient, to me at least. But the other thing you're going to notice is that this is very much a WYSIWYG now. The biggest thing is you might be used to, markdown links. They do not work anymore. You now need to actually, type your thing, highlight it, Command K, and then, type your reply to get your link. The difference there is macros still use markdown links and somehow magically work fine. Zendesk renders those fine. So as an example, you have macros. They still are at the bottom and you can navigate them that way, but a new convenient feature is you can type slash and start typing out the name of the macro to quickly access it. So customer not responding, I can quickly get my macro there. It only works if you start with the slash. So, if I'm doing, it's not going to populate there because I've not started with the slash, or, if I'm doing, path to file, I'll still be okay. However, if I start with that, you'll notice it's no longer, it's having some issues. It will end if you do another slash. So path to file will work fine, but it's going to try to auto assume that if you start with slash, you want a macro. That might take a little getting used to, especially in support where we often have to type file paths. So just a thing to kind of keep in mind as you go. Another big difference, everything is resizable, which is a nice feature. I like this because honestly, that's how small things usually are, and I hate scrolling to infinity. So it is nice for me to be able to go, there's all my things, they're all right there. I don't have to figure it out and then kind of throw it back. It will remember the sizing you use. So once you kind of find the sizing you like, it'll stick there until you kind of change it. Another feature which will be useful for full agents, not light agents, but full agents, is the ability to ping other people. I would show you here, but I am terrified of what will pop up when I hit that @ sign. But you would type an @ sign and start typing the person's name, and that'll let you @ somebody. As an example, if Lewis was in this instance, I could @ Lewis, and when I submit my reply, what it's going to do is add a, this is federal, so follower, but on global, it'll add a CC, which will allow you to not only ping that person, get them a notification, but also CC them on the ticket. That's really useful for cross collaboration. You know, if Lewis is working on a ticket and he needs me to look at it, he could go post in Slack and blah, 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 or he could just @ me on the ticket. It would CC me and I would get a notification, and then I could look at it at my leisure. Another thing you might notice is your apps were over here. They still are, but now everything's confined to these icons. So the 9 boxes, I'm sure there's a name for this icon that I see everywhere. I just don't know it. Will be your apps. If you click that, you get all your apps to load up. You also have 2 new icons. This will search the knowledge base. Surprise, we don't really use that because it's the knowledge base in Zendesk. I'm talking with them about somehow figuring out how to get the one in our docs, because that'd be more useful. And then above that, you have the customer context box, which gives you all kinds of information, such as their current, their most recent interactions, their email, their org, their local time, what language they speak, any notes that have been added to the user. I have admin access, so it's giving me the option to edit this user, but you may not see that access because you shouldn't be editing users anyway. But things like the recent interactions are nice, especially working in context of maybe billing tickets, security tickets. If you're like, how many DMCAs have I sent to this person? It's real convenient to have them all popped up right there. So those are some of the features. Most of this bottom part is the exact same you've always seen. You've got your stay on ticket, or you can change this to next in view, close tab. You've got your various statuses. So none of that's changed. If you go to like the org page, nothing there has changed. The user page, nothing there has changed. All the real changes happen on this ticket page. Another convenient feature is the ability to redact things without the need of an app. Previously, we had a Zendesk app. You had to click it and type your search string, and it would try to find your search that way. You now have the ability to actually come here and hit redact. And I could say, okay, mark that for redaction and redact it. And it will redact it. So that's real convenient. There is a built-in translator using Google Translate, but we use Unbabel to do that. So the preference company-wise is still to use Unbabel, especially as that makes a internal note with the English. It's then translated, or vice versa. Whereas using Google Translate sends it in another language, not in any English. So somebody else coming in will have to translate your reply to figure out what you said. So that's some of the big things. I'll go ahead and stop the share, but I wanted to open it up for any questions people might have, things that you noticed if you're like, hey, this is different, but you didn't document this.
So Jason, thank you for that. It's interesting. Redacting attachments, that's done exactly the same way as you just did just for text, all right?
Yes, exactly so. You'll
okay.
Go to the 3 dots by the reply, you'll hit redact, and then it'll give you options to redact the attachments as well as the text. Those will just be like the boxes you're used to seeing in GitLab and Zendesk. You'll just click the box to redact it. So yeah, it'll be the exact same as what you just saw, just you'll be clicking, giant image boxes or whatever, and giant file boxes instead of just text.
Okay, cool.
And it does work for inline images and attachments. Although I always offer caution on inline images because you have to be logged in to see them, and the email the customer gets is going to have a giant broken image. So use caution with inline images. They work, you can redact them, but consider what the customer is going to see when they get that email, and what they're going to see is a giant broken image, which, not great.
Okay, makes sense. And nothing has changed for the customer experience?
Correct. The customer experience is still the same. This actually weirdly aligns us more with the customer experience, because a lot of what you saw is how it looks for them, minus whatever theme modifications we've made.
Okay. And you're using the federal sandbox. Is this available in the other sandbox that we recently did the testing in?
Not as of yet. Because of how this changes things, we wanted to do it on one sandbox just to document everything and then slowly move over to the next stage. I'm sure you can notice how jarring that was just at the start, and ops still has testing and stuff to do. So the last thing we wanted was to impact testing of actual deployments with us having to go, oh God, how do I send a reply now? So right now it's just the federal sandbox. When I announce it, the date that this will go live for Zendesk production instances, all the sandboxes will be changed over as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else questions, comments, concerns, thoughts when you saw it? Like, we want to try to prepare everybody as best we can, which is difficult because this is kind of it is or it isn't. So obviously one day you're going to see it as you currently do, and the next day when it goes live, you're going to log in and see giant agent workspace.
I think for me, losing Markdown is going to be one of the
okay, so
biggest.
I've seen this one come up a bit. All Markdown works except for links and tables, but I mean, how often do people use tables in a reply? So your block quotes, your headers, your bold, your italics, your underline, all that still works, and you don't need to use the WYSIWYG for that. There's also keyboard shortcuts if that's your flavor of how you want to do it. I'd prefer to type the Markdown, but if you want to highlight your text and hit Command I to make it italics, that, up to you. So all the Markdown does work except the links, and I'll acknowledge, yeah, it's a big loss. That made me very sad, and it's going to take some getting used to because I still type them in Markdown. It's convenient for me.
So things like triple backticks will still work.
Yes, triple backticks, code blocks, all of that still works. It's just links are the big one. Tables obviously also don't work, but I'm not confident those ever worked in Zendesk to begin with. So
yeah, I've never had those working.
So your triple backticks, your regular, your single backtick, stuff like that will all still work without a problem. You can still use the Markdown, and the way it'll work is, previously you'd just type it, hit preview, and you'd see it. Because this pre-renders, when you hit those triple backticks, you'll see a code block automatically already form and you're typing into it. So you'll be able to, I guess, more quickly see that the Markdown you're using is working. It really depends on if you were one of, like me, I type and then I hit preview. That's how I've always done it. I like doing it that way. So this is jarring to me of not being able to do that. It pre-renders, which I guess is nice, but I'm kind of that older school method of, I don't want you to render it for me. I want to look at it when I'm done typing. But obviously,
yeah,
keep his own.
Because I use an add-in which allows me to copy as Markdown, and so I can paste it elsewhere. I'm guessing that would still work.
Yeah, no, it should. It should still work minus the links. Obviously, like the link, I'll reiterate that again. Markdown links do not work, and that's going to be jarring, and you're probably going to send a couple of replies with a Markdown link that doesn't render correctly. Now the link will still work. That's at least that convenience, but you're gonna probably accidentally send some things to customers that show the Markdown link in Markdown format, and I think that's par for the course. We've all accidentally sent a reply at one point where we fudged the Markdown a bit.
Is there an alternate to Markdown link, or is it just going to show the link as a link and just there's no way to?
So what you can do is type the text and then highlight it and do Command K or click the link button in the WYSIWYG or Control K if you're not on a Mac, and that will bring up a little box that lets you paste the link there, and then it'll format that into a link like you're used to. But I have not found the text that would equate to Markdown, like typing out the Markdown link and it rendering that way. It could exist. It's just not documented, and I have no idea what it is.
I have a question about tagging the users. Is
Mhm.
this like what users? Is this full users, light users? Can it be like, I wonder, can I tag someone from the sales team? Will they see it, or do I have to put them on CC as we usually do right now, or does that change anything?
So as an agent, full agent, you should be able to tag any other agent, flight agent, or full agent on your ticket. The key to that is a light agent does not have that ability in reverse. So a light agent can't tag you on a ticket, but you can tag a light agent. So if you wanted to tag somebody on the sales team, as long as they have a Zendesk account that has a user, like an agent user, light agent user, you should be able to tag them on the ticket. It'll add them as the CC or add them into the CCs. But
So
if
will
they
it
don't have an account, you can't obviously ping them.
Okay, so it's probably safer to still add them on CC because we don't know who. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you do the add, it'll do a drop down that'll populate as you type, so you'll be able to see it. But at the end of the day, it might be quicker for you to just add them in the CC box, which is also an option. The app thing is kind of just a convenient, it auto adds them as a CC thing. That said, we have 1,000+ light agents, so I can expect that may not always be the most lovely drop down to have to work with.
True.
Question. Is tagging only for internal notes or public replies or both? Like how
ticket tagging
work?
or tagging someone else?
Somebody.
It's for public and internal replies.
Okay.
I would advise you don't do it on a public reply though, since that means the customer's going to see it, and chances are you don't mean to do that. And for a customer, it's not going to be helpful. Like if you're trying to be like, oh, you should talk to Diana, and you add Diana in the public reply, that's great for the customer, except what they're going to see is you should talk to Diana. That's all they're going to see. They won't have an email or anything else. Yes, Diana CC, Diana might get that notification or reply, but for a customer, they're going to look at that going, how do I talk to Diana? That's probably the response you're going to get back. So you might want to, if you're just trying to internally ping, Diana, ping Diana an internal note. If you're trying to tell the customer you need to talk to Diana, I would say you need to talk to Diana. Here's Diana's email. I've CC'd Diana for you on this ticket. So, use like caution when you use that. Think of what the customer is going to see, what the experience is going to be for the customer. Because at the end of the day, if I said, talk to Bob, your response is probably going to be, who's Bob? How do I talk to Bob? Even if you've already CC'd Bob, the customer may not realize that. And it might just cause that useless reply of, but how? So kind of use, kind of think what the customer experience is on that one if you're going to use it in public replies. I saw you join, Diana, so I figured I'd use you in the example. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Like, I want anything that you've got right now, because obviously the better docs we make, the better video we make announcing all this, and the less jarring it becomes for all of our users of Zendesk. My goal is to make it where when this is live and y'all come in the day it goes live, it's not a, oh my God, how do I do my job? It's, okay, everything changed.
Would there be a way to switch from like older to newer to older?
For the comments?
Yeah. Specifically like for long tickets. So what if I don't want to scroll all the way down?
Unfortunately, there is not. You'll either have to scroll or use the jump box that it adds when you're not at the bottom of a ticket.
Okay.
There's weirdly not a jump box for going to the top of the ticket, so I don't know why that was. There is the ability to filter, so you can filter out the internal comments if you've read those and you're like, cool, I don't need to look at those anymore. You can filter them out. Same for public comments. I guess that'd be kind of weird though, of like, I only wanted to see internal comments. I guess you could, but it feels like you probably need to see the public comments. That's one of those filters I don't quite understand, but I guess it has a use somewhere.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and give y'all back a good portion of your day. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for attending. I'm going to compile these and make a little to-do list to make our docs a little better. Look forward to me announcing this in the near future and what date it's going to go live and all that fun stuff. I'll have the recording linked in the original thread and all that, so feel free to share out the recording because obviously the more people who know, the better. All right. Thanks all. Have a good rest of your day, week, month, year, quarter, whatever.
Thanks, Jason. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.